Well, hello, pioneers. I wanted to share with you something that happened in our area last night. I'm curious if it's happening in your area too. What happened last night is I ordered something online for local pickup, and something happened with the internet, some kind of issue with fiber optic cables, and basically this whole area was wiped out with there was like no connectivity. And so several of our local retailers, like if you had prepaid for something and you were going to pick it up, they wouldn't release the orders. Has this happened to you recently, or has this ever happened to you that you paid for something, but because the systems were down, you drive to the store and they will not release it to you because they cannot sign it off in their system that it has been picked up, and so they can't keep up with the orders? Has this happened to you with any of the big retailers? And has it happened to you? Has it happened to me last night that you go to other retailers and they stop you at the door and say, cash only. So do you still want to come inside? And so basically the store was closed for people that wanted to pay by credit card or debit card or whatever else, cash only. Has this happened to you lately, or has it happened to you at all? Maybe with issues with like natural disasters or things like that. This kind of reminds me of things that have happened in my home country of Venezuela. And so I wanted to just share this with you because some of us think that that maybe we will not be able to purchase something because maybe it's out of stock or the shelves are empty. But it could very well happen that the goods are there and you've already paid for them, but they will not be released to you. Or like I said, happened to me last night, you go to a store and they say you cannot come in unless you have this form of payment. That is the only form of payment that we are receiving. And so I'm seeing a lot of talk about, what different people think of what it means to be prepared, and preparedness and stuff like that is becoming kind of a topic, a hot topic. And here's what I would share with you about that. If you don't have cash and that's the only form of payment that a store takes, then you're not going to be able to provide that for your family. I didn't have anything pressing that I needed. It was picking up some things that, hey, I thought while I'm in town I'll get, but there wasn't an emergency situation for us. But what if you're have a true need for something? How do you purchase it, right? And so what I wanted to share with you that reminds me of Venezuela is this situation where we had a currency. It's called the Bolivar, and it became obsolete. And the Bolivar currency, if you have it or if you're still being paid in it, it has no international value. You cannot exchange it in the international exchange. And locally, it just diminishes ever more in value. So what's better than to keep cash is to keep the things in stock that your family needs. And so that just has to do with having the wisdom to prepare. Now, I'm not going to get into politics or anything like that here, but all of us that have a vehicle have the opportunity to choose whether we're going to have a spare tire in our vehicle or not, right? And most of us choose to have a spare tire. Why? Because what would happen if we didn't? If we just indefinitely drove around without a spare tire, if you have a flat without a spare tire that you can use, then you put yourself in it could be a dangerous situation. And then you're in this position where it's a hard, you need more help for your vehicle to be moved and for you to get help. Can be a very quick situation if you have a spare, and it could be an emergency or create a situation that didn't need to happen if you don't. So I just wanted to share with some of you who may be watching that may not have maybe you've been wanting for a long time to kind of get a little bit more prepared, be a little bit more prudent about preparing for emergencies, for natural disasters, and things like that. And so I just wanted to share with you that it may or may not be a natural disaster. It just may be a technological issue with internet connectivity, the currency, and things like that that make it inaccessible for you to get the things that you need. So why not? Why not be prudent and, have some of the things that would really affect you and your family to, if you went to the store and you were not able to buy it, and they turned you away because you didn't have the currency that they were asking for. Something else about the currency that rings true with me, being from Venezuela, is that the current currency in Venezuela that's being accepted is the American dollar, as in like cash American dollar. So imagine overnight, if in your state, like let's say for some of the northern states, if the Canadian dollar became overnight the only currency, or the southern states maybe Mexican pesos, or some other currency that's not the national currency. And how do you get that, right? How do you get that? What happened last night was that the ATM machines were down also. So even if people had money in the bank, cash, that they thought they could turn into cash and get out, they couldn't. So what does that look like in Venezuela? And why am I talking about Venezuela in this? Is because there's people have money and either it has no value, or they can't get it out of the bank, or they can't turn it into other things that they need. And then they have to find this other thing that's super expensive, as the American dollars in a foreign country like Venezuela. So I don't even know, y'all, how this is all real, but there is a reality, okay? And so, for people that are not used to carrying cash, last night, they turned away dozens and probably hundreds, and I don't know if in so many other stores, it could have been 1,000 people for all I know, that they sent home because they had to have cash right now, and you couldn't get any cash from the ATMs. So what if that happened to you? That's my whole point, okay? What if that happened to you? Make it personalized. Perhaps you're used to just being able to do it all the time, but it's kind of like flipping the light switch and there's no electricity coming in, or turning the faucet and there's no running water. What do you do then, right? What would you do in a practical sense to prepare for such an event in your life? Today, I actually had some things I needed to take care of. I wanted to record this sooner, but I had not one, but two different times that we had internet outages. So I'm curious, has this happened to you where you're living? I would love it if you would comment below. Please let me know if you're having any situations that were unexpected about the internet or the connection causing problems with your business, or causing problems with businesses that you are trying to purchase goods and services from. And lastly, I wanted to share about this situation of preparedness. Again, there's just a lot of, I don't know, I feel like a lot of negative emotions around this word of preparedness, but let's just make it personal, right? If you knew that you were going to go to the store and you couldn't buy anything because the currency they were asking you for you couldn't get, and you weren't going to have access to the ATM, etc. What would you get? What would you regret not buying right now if you knew that it was not going to be accessible the next day? And it wasn't because, people are expecting like shortages and things like that, but sometimes it's not shortages. Sometimes it's shortages that you don't have what is needed to make that exchange, okay? And so inflation and hyperinflation and things like that. So I was in a conversation earlier, and it just reminded me. I had the privilege to interview Captain John Arroyo earlier this year, and he shared his story of survival from the Fort Hood shooting. And if you watch the interview, or if you go back and watch the interview, I will try to link it here. But if you watch the interview, you will see that we talked about hearing the voice of God, because that is part of his story and his testimony as to how he survived, because he should have just bled to death right there on the ground. But his story of survival after being shot, like somewhere like on his neck. So, and you can hear the whole story. Don't trust me for the details on that. But he was shot. He was supposed to die, and he shares his story of hearing God speak to him, and that is what caused him to live, to be alive, and to be able to continue with his journey on this earth. But here's the thing: whatever there's so much noise out there, and whatever the world is trying to, and the culture is trying to say about how to live your life in these times, I highly encourage you, like, seek God for what he wants you to do personally, because we all have a specific responsibility to ourselves and our family, and to take care of ourselves and to be a lighthouse for such a time as this. So don't listen, turn off the noise and listen to see what would the voice of God say to you about this situation if there were some foreseen crisis ahead. The other thing I wanted to share with you about that interview that I had with Captain Arroyo was that, one of the things that we discussed in the interview is that I believe that God always speaks to the person first, and he may reveal that through someone coming and sharing and affirming it. So I hope that maybe I'm a first or second witness to confirm to you that it is not a radical thing to prepare for a crisis. Proverbs 22 actually says that a prudent person foresees danger or sees danger and takes refuge, but the simple, they keep going and suffer the consequences. So be wise. It's considered wisdom. If you see that something might be coming that might cause your family an emergency, when it doesn't have to be an emergency, you don't have to put yourself in a situation of dire need. When you have someone in your life that's a mentor, not just a teacher teaching you things, but a mentor is there to draw what's already inside of you and not just put things in you. I am not here to put fear in you, to put anything in you. I want to be here as a witness of wisdom, okay? I'm here to testify that wisdom is that you would take the wisdom in Proverbs 22:3 seriously. And if you foresee that there might be some danger, you take refuge and be considered wise for preparing ahead. And what do you have to lose? People that prepare ahead do not have anything to lose. Just like you have that extra tire that in your vehicle, you don't have anything to lose. If nothing happens, great. And if something happens, awesome, you are prepared. And so it's an encouragement to you that there's a great value in wisdom and preparedness, and don't listen to the noise of the world to tell you otherwise, because it's becoming unpopular and there's some negative connotations to that. Just let the word of God speak, be the ultimate truth in your life. And it is God that's going to be the one that you're going to have to answer to, and not any other organization or anyone else, right? He created you, and he's going to demand an account of what you did with your time and your resources, and what you did with what you had. So I'm going to link to that video. I'm sorry the sun is like blinding me during this time of the afternoon. It's kind of a piercing west sun. So that's what I had in my heart to share with you. I wanted to share my story with you. I wanted to ask if it's happened to you where you couldn't just do business as usual in your area. What's happening in your area? And I'm not talking about shortages. I'm talking about, like, was there a situation where you couldn't just pay, or you couldn't just order something And there was a situation where it's kind of an unexpected deal where they had the goods and they wouldn't give them to you, and you already paid and they wouldn't release them to you. I'm looking for those things. I'm curious if that's happening where you live, and has it happened to you that the Lord spoke something to you and someone else confirmed it and said, hey, I see that that this could be, wisdom for you, have a word of encouragement. Has that happened to you where it affirmed you and it helped you move forward with more courage that you really did hear? It was an affirming situation. I would love it if you would share with me what's happening in your area, and if you're open to it. If you don't want to comment, you can email me to Aurora. Let me see. You guys, I put myself in this spot. So send me an email to aurora@producingfreedom.com. So I'd love to hear from you. May the Lord bless you and keep you, shine his face towards you, be gracious to you, turn his countenance towards you, and give you shalom, peace.